Hey guys, it's Tyler and Reed with Roxy Music here. We're a music shop that has been in business since 1939. And today we're discussing the rise of the Stratocaster. So when I think about a Strat, I think there's three main eras for the Strat period. We got the Leo Fender era from 1950. Well, Fender began a couple years earlier than that, but the Strat in 1954 to when it sold to CBS in 1965. And then the CBS era from 1965 to 1985. And then
from then on,
Fender Musical Instruments 85 to current day.
Definitely three different periods for the instrument and the company.
Yeah. I feel like the CBS era is kind of the point where everybody like scoffs at, because like they say it's not like as quality, but like that's really when the Strat became popular.
Yeah, it's the irony of that. Yeah.
Hendrix had a CBS era 60s Strat from a wall that he played that revolutionized the Strat market. And
they weren't making left-handed ones yet, so it wasn't just fashionable for him to play a right-handed guitar left-handed. It's what he had available to him.
So let's go to the first era of the Strat specifically in 1954 when Leo Fender designed it. And he initially designed it to replace the Telecaster, which is a good thing he didn't, because a lot of people still like Tellies and they're super popular guitars.
Yeah, it would have been brought back by demand for sure. Yeah, they need to coexist.
Yeah, but the creation of the Strat, it's such a revolutionary instrument. Like it's contoured in a way that's comfortable because of a guy named Rex Scallion, who's a player that worked with Leo Fender. He's like, I don't like this Telly digging into my ribs. And there wasn't really a guitar that did that at that point.
No, not with the contours the way it is.
No,
there really wasn't.
And so he contoured it. There's a 3 pickup system, but they only had the 3 selector switch, which you told me that.
Yeah, the original Strat, it had 3 pickups and it had a 3-way switch, which made sense. One was just the back pickup, and this was just the middle, and this was all the neck pickup. And players figured out they could kind of get the switch to wedge in between and then pick up both pickups. And Fender saw players doing this, or players went to them, and that's when they incorporated the 5-way switch as a feature to the guitar. So it was really an innovation of the player, not the manufacturer.
It took a long time, though.
It did, and it continues to this day. The only time they do the 3-way switch is on vintage reissues, just to be period correct.
Yeah. But, so they got the 3 pickups. The craziest design of the new Stratocaster is the bridge system. There wasn't a bridge system made like that. The Bigsby was out at that point, but they didn't have like a 2-point tremolo system carved into the body.
The synchronized tremolo, as they called it, yeah.
And that was, like, it's still pretty much the same. I mean, they changed the number of springs and how wide the cutout is.
Right.
But like the initial design is revolutionary, but it didn't start that way. It was originally like rollers, and I tried to find a picture so we could throw it on the screen, but I couldn't find one. Like,
yeah, you got to wonder if any of those original prototype bridges are out there.
I don't.
I've never heard of that. No.
Yeah, I just know about it from reading, and apparently, like, it rolled the bridge over. So it rolled the bridge instead of moving the whole bridge. The strings were on rollers, which made it sound like a banjo.
Right. Yeah. Terrible sustain with the strings sitting on that.
So they're like, get rid of that. The Strat probably would have came out in '53 if it weren't for that.
It got held up over that, did it?
Yeah. Like, Leo Fender apparently like primed the factory to produce that bridge, and then his guys were like, please don't do this.
Yeah, it's gonna flop. Wow.
Yeah, so that
could have been the Edsel of electric guitars, huh?
But that change made it like, it was the most revolutionary thing about the guitar.
Yeah.
Because there were a couple 3 pickup lap steels in the 30s that came out. But like for a solid body, it's kind of the first. But as the bridge system, that's like the first created.
And if you think about it, all the modern ones, the Floyd Rose and that kind of thing, are all still modeled after that basic design with the hole and the springs in the back of the guitar and the tremolo floating.
Different type of.
Yeah, it's just a fine-tuned version.
Yeah. So Strat was growing. Didn't get big until really the CBS era. I mean, Buddy Holly brought it along quite a bit before then. And then that's how like Jimi Hendrix and Eric Clapton and all them learned about the Strat. But they couldn't really get it. And most of this happened in the CBS era, which is when Fender sold to CBS. Now we're going to the CBS era, which was 58 years ago. They grew sales at the beginning, so it went from, they bought it for about $13 million, which...
It's kind of a bargain.
Yeah. And back then, though, it's more than it is nowadays. Not that it's nothing.
And when CBS sold it, the company was non-profitable, right?
Yes.
They were just getting out of it.
Yeah, they sold it for $12.5 million, which is less than they bought it for. But they didn't sell the factories when they sold it. However, early day CBS, they like doubled and tripled sales the first couple of years of the Strat and just overall of the business, which was really good for Fender and growing the brand. But it wasn't like you said at the end, they kind of had to get out of it. No one was happy with it. They made a lot of changes that had to be like cost saving, which a lot of people didn't like. They did make some changes that like were just changes, like the larger headstocks.
Right.
Which, are you a fan of the larger headstocks, or do you prefer the smaller ones?
Ergonomically, I prefer the smaller one. I'm told the bigger one adds mass and balance and sustain. I've never noticed it, but yeah, I'm not a big fan of the big headstock personally.
Me either. I don't.
If you do, that's fine. You can have it.
Yeah, it's.
I don't like 3-bolt necks. It's
and that
a
was
bad
another
design.
thing they did. No. So, and then they also did micro tilt necks, which was that helpful for the guitar?
It's to really get the setup tweaked. I think it is still very helpful. Yeah, I prefer it on the 4-bolt neck than the 3 because otherwise, it's just unstable. You have that one screw in the middle where the whole thing can move.
Yeah, it's.
There's a hailstorm going on.
Yeah, it's raining pretty heavily. So hopefully that's not too distracting. Anyway, yeah, they also got rid of the Allen & Co. pickups at that time. I don't remember what they went to though. They went to like
ceramic.
Yeah.
Higher output pickup.
Yeah, and then they didn't. I don't think they like balanced the magnets in the pickup. They just flushed them out.
Oh, right.
A lot of people did not like
flat top magnets. And coming out of the 80s when they sold the Fender guitars, Strats and everything it was at a real decline in popularity in the market.
Yeah.
Everybody was into the Van Halen kind of Kramer, Ibanez, the shredder heavy metal kind of guitar. Single humbucker and a locking tremolo and not the Strat or the Delhi.
Before the 70s, when like in the 60s, it blew up with Hendrix. But yeah, the shred guitars kind of took over. They also switched from a nitrocellulose backing to a polyurethane.
Yeah.
Which they still use both to this day. The nitro is kind of the higher ended.
Right. It's a more expensive finish to do, and you have EPA regulations on it and that kind of thing.
Do you have a preference? Do you like the poly or do you prefer the nitro?
I think that nitro is probably a better finish for the resonance of the wood.
Sure.
But the other's just more durable. So yeah. My Strat is not poly, but
Yeah, and stick to the end because we're going to go over our Strats and how we play them, what we like to use them for, how we change them, make modifications on them, or how we changed both of them. Yeah, and then they also changed to a Fender branded tuning machine in that time period, which probably good for the brand.
Right, outsourcing stuff, less, right? Grover and Clusen and such.
Yeah, so they switched to Fender branded. And they added a bullet truss rod, which, can you describe a bullet truss rod?
It's literally like a bullet that sticks out of the end of the neck. It's just easier to get at, to adjust.
Which is helpful. I don't like the look of them.
Right, that may be why it went away, because it kind of did. Along with the 3-bolt neck and,
Yeah, they said the 3-bolt neck was needed for, like, the sustain of the micro tilt.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
It had a purpose? I didn't realize that.
But they've switched back to a 4-bolt.
And using a micro tilt.
Yes, so it's probably wrong that they...
Right, worked around it.
Yeah. And then they flash forward to 1985. The company's losing money. CBS is in a lot of different things, and they're just trying to sell off a bunch of stuff. So the CEO, Brian Schultz, got a bunch of workers from Fender together, and they bought it for, like we said earlier, $12.5 million, which is sad because CBS bought it for 13.
Right. And how many years earlier?
20 years earlier.
Yeah, still selling it at that price.
Yeah. And they had Hendrix, Clapton, all those guys came through up in that era that
Yeah.
changed it, and then they couldn't keep it profitable. Which, like you said, Kramer and them came up. Eddie Van Halen kind of revolutionized the
Right. Yeah.
Strat market for them.
And then coming out of all that into the 90s, there was a huge boom in the alternative music, and Fender guitars everybody was using them back. So between that and the uprising of the blues music,
Yeah.
with the Stevie Ray.
Ray.
Yeah, sorry. That guy. So yeah, it all took off again. So it had another boom.
Yeah. Did I misspeak earlier? Was Clapton in them in the 70s or 90s? I can't remember.
Well, they were probably biggest in the 70s.
Yeah.
They got signature models in the 90s because then
Yes.
Fender was giving everybody signature models.
Yes, they were. Well, and that's what happened. So when they bought it in 1985, CBS didn't sell them the Fullerton factory in California. So they stopped making American guitars until October of 85.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why there's the
Yeah,
big,
that gap of just made in Japan guitars. Yeah.
and they were having import things actually I think that was CBS era, where they had import things in England where they couldn't get the Strats early on in the 60s. So it made it difficult for guitar players to get into the Strat early on.
Yeah.
But yeah, in the 85, they were just Japanese only, which, are you a fan of the Japanese Strats?
Of that era, they made good stuff. They certainly make good stuff in Japan now.
Yeah.
The few I've had my hands on, and some of it's just the allure. It's like, oh, this is one of those made Japan Strats from that era. But they're good guitars.
Yeah. So in 85, they started to right the ship. They're working on getting manufacturing back in America. So in October, they started releasing a couple models. It wasn't even like mass produced. It was like maybe 20 Strats a day.
Yeah.
And they started going back to just pre-CBS vintage models, reissues, like early 85, and they didn't do like American standards until the next 2 years when Japanese economy tanked and they couldn't get Japanese Strats for import trades. So they had to make American Standard, and that's how the American Standard was born in post 85, which was great for them. And then in 86 they released the custom shops, which is a great line. They make guitars today. They're hand built. You have a favorite custom shop you've played?
The Jeff Beck. Yeah. It's so similar to my Strat, maybe that's why. And I'm a big Jeff Beck fan.
Sure. Isn't that just an artist series though?
I suppose it is. Yeah, that's a regular
Yeah.
production model. Oh, I guess a general custom shop guitar. There've been a few. There's not one I can point to specifically.
Yeah. The Jeff Beck is a great guitar though. So back to the 85 era. So 85, 86, they kind of go through the starting to ride the ship. 87, 86 is when the custom shop comes out. In 87, they moved the Squier production to Korea, which helped them boom Squier, get cheaper production. And then they started a Mexican line too.
Right.
And that's when the Mexican line starts, which Mexican lines are huge today.
Oh, yeah. It was a big game changer at the time.
Yeah.
Because they were Fender guitars. They didn't say Squier on them. And they were $239, I think, when they first introduced them.
In the 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sold
which-
a bunch of them. Just
Yeah.
They're like popcorn. Everybody got one of those. Even if you already had a Strat.
Yeah. Which it's crazy nowadays. Like the Mexican Strats are like $1,000 now.
Yeah, it's changed dramatically, for sure.
They did bring the Fender players back to like $600 though.
Yes, recently, yeah.
Like-
yeah, which they needed to.
Yeah, that's kind of where they're priced well.
Right, yep.
Anyway, so so the Strat boomed, Mexican Strats boomed, and then they grew them until they're super popular. And then we're kind of in the modern era now where they're doing players saying they're trying to make a line that everybody can access. but keeps going up in quality. Like one of my favorite one is probably the Ultras.
Yeah.
I love those. Like those guitars are just great. I actually like them more than the custom shops I've played.
Really? Yeah.
But I play a '90s Ultra, so it's kind of
Right. What you're used to. More modern guitar. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm kind of more like that too than the vintage reissue things.
yeah. So now we're gonna go, and that's kind of the history of where the Strat came from, where it's at now. What's crazy is the Strat. I mean, they've made hundreds of modifications, but like the core of it is still pretty much the same as it was in '54.
Yep. Totally. Yeah.
It's not like a massively different instrument.
Right.
You can do anything you want now. I mean, there's Strats with Floyd Roses, there's humbucker single configurations.
And to think it's been 70 years. This is the 70th anniversary of the Fender Stratocaster.
It's crazy. It's a great guitar. It has become the quintessential guitar.
Yep. Sure has.
So Reed and I both play Strats, and we're going to go through our Strats and what we like about them, how we've changed them. So we're going to get ready for that. So tell me about your Strat that you got there.
This was a 1993 Fender Strat Plus Deluxe I bought here at Roxy Music Shop. And I say was because I've changed everything. Originally it had lace sensor pickups. I put in these Kidman pickups. I've changed the tremolo. I've changed the locking tuning machines. In fact, I think the neck and the body and the screws that put them together, that's the only thing that still remains. Great guitar. It's not that I didn't like everything about it. I just tinkered and changed it over the years.
What was the original tremolo on it?
It was a tremolo that they made along in conjunction with Floyd Rose, so the strings actually locked in place. So you still had to cut the balls off and lock them in and do all that kind of thing. And it only lasted a couple of years. And so I got this one. It's got a brass block. It's a good sounding bridge. The pickups are Kinman noiseless pickups, so those are made in Australia. And I put a mid boost in it, so there's actually a boost circuit here and then mid there. So,
Yeah. So the wiring's probably all changed out too.
yeah, it's a mess kind of under there. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on under the hood.
Yeah.
Yep.
So what are your favorite things about this Strat? You like the neck shape? Is it a thinner neck?
This is, I think, kind of a standard neck shape.
Okay.
When I had it refretted, I had them go a little flatter. I think it's a 10-inch radius. I mean, as we've discussed, I don't like really crazy low action, but, you know, this is low. The tremolo, I can basically do whatever I want and it stays in tune. Yeah, it's just a great versatile guitar.
And you like keeping your trim a little higher so you can get...
I do. It floats a lot, and I like to be able to pull back on it. Get pedal steel kind of effect. And it floats like that, so I get that flutter.
Yeah.
It's kind of like having a Floyd Rose without all the stuff.
Yeah. I mean, that's...
It's
As we know, I'm not a Floyd Rose fan, so like I
No, you
see
certainly are.
No. I got ruined with a little cheap Ibanez. It ruined me.
Interestingly, and this is also a similar guitar from about the same time. What year did we decide this was? It's in a couple years.
I think so there's not a serial number on the back of the headstock. So we took off the neck, and it looks like 99, maybe 94.
Right.
So it's a American Ultra. I bought this in Minneapolis, St. Paul actually, when I was going to college up there. I really loved the look. I've beaten the crap out of this thing though.
Nah, it's still good.
It's still good, but like all that's not actual. That's pure relicking from me.
Right. And these both have these roller bearing nuts that were quintessential for that era. And this one still has the lace sensor pickups, which is the thing they were doing at the time.
Yeah.
This guitar also has an ebony fingerboard, so that's kind of a brighter tone wood and on the hard side.
Yeah, so I got my HSS combination, which I like because I can kick to the bridge.
Right,
that little
the
volume
everything
boost.
guitar, yeah.
Yeah, I like that a lot. But you installed a coil tap in it, so I can get that.
Still get that bridge single coil sound.
But I like that I can kind of do a lot with it. I'd like to add neck pickup on switch at some point where I can just turn it on.
Yeah,
and
we
get all
discussed that the
three.
other day. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
doable. Mm-hmm.
Or get all three in the coil tap.
Right.
But so I've had to change the tone knobs because mine broke. I've beaten this crap out of this guitar, but I've played it all over the place. I love how it sounds. I love how it plays. I love the neck on this thing. It feels super comfortable. It's really where I learned to play guitar is on this guitar. I had my Gibson I learned before that in college. Couldn't stay in tune, so I sold that actually pretty recently, and I got an LTD. But this is when I bought this. I really learned to play guitar, and it really inspired me. It really helped me practice because I'm like, oh, this guitar plays well. I don't have to fight it to play the instrument, which is really great. It's an Ultra, and that's why I love even the modern Ultras.
Yeah.
It's kind of based off this type of thing.
And you have a guitar that long and you spend that much time on it, you develop a relationship and it becomes like an extension of your, of your body. You know?
I just come back to it and I'm like, oh.
Yeah, it feels like home. Yeah.
Yeah, it plays great. Yeah. And did you buy it new in '93?
I did.
Nice.
Yeah. In fact, I ordered it. I bought it sight unseen. I was like, I want that finish and I want that fingerboard, and
nice. Yeah.
Made it work.
I did not mind mine new in '99. I was born the same year, so it would have been impressive if I did.
Yeah. It would have been.
But I bought it used from a guitar shop called Vig's Guitars, which is a great place if you're in St. Paul.
It's still there.
Yeah, it is still there. Small little shop, but great guitars. It was between this and a red kind of standard Stratocaster.
Yeah.
And I liked it, but I'm like, this is the one I'm coming back to. I'm getting this. And I love the look. I like the dark color looks. My other guitar's kind of blackish.
Yeah.
I like the ebony fingerboard. It plays great. And I do have locking tuners on the back. Yeah.
Those are great. Just even make string changes really fast, but yeah, they stay in tune really well too.
So.
Yes, good Strats.
Yeah.
You'll not find these for sale here at Roxy Music.
No. You will probably see them though. And surprising enough, that intro stinger we have for this was recorded on this.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it's a pretty heavier riff that this thing can pull off.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, so that's our history of the Strat. If you have any questions, like, comment, share, subscribe, and let us know what you think. Thanks.